Good afternoon, life group leaders and interns. Well, it's that time of the week. I'm trying to put together a little training for you on YouTube for you to be able to access and look at it at any time. But today's topic is actually going to be the group covenant. In fact, we're calling this coming week for our life groups, we're calling it Covenant Week. And that's where we're going to ask each one of you to allow me to go and present the life group covenant to your group members. Life group covenant is very important. In fact, oftentimes people get it confused and they think that a covenant is the same thing as a contract, and actually it's not. A covenant is built on trust. A contract is built on distrust. In other words, if you were to sign a contract, not a covenant, but a contract with the person who's lending you money to buy a car, and you were to default in that contract, they would come and get the car from you because that's how it's written. So the reality is they're asking you to sign a contract because they don't trust you. In a covenant, it's all about relationships. It's all about trusting one another. So as we talk about this covenant, it's not because we distrust anyone. Actually, it's because we do trust, and we're actually asking people to agree with us or make following commitments to do certain things in their life group. So each week, we'll learn how to take care of one another as Christ commanded. And this care will take different forms, such as praying, listening, meeting needs, and encouraging and even challenging one another as needed. And that's important because in the life group itself, as we sign the covenant, we're making a commitment to that. The other thing that we're making a commitment to is to study together. We'll study a portion of God's Word that relates to the previous weekend sermon, and our goal is to learn how to apply and live out our Christianity in our day-to-day experiences and relationships. Again, it's all about relationships, right? And then the sharing part is each week we'll take time to share what's happening in our lives, kind of catch each one of us up on matters of your life. At first, the sharing will include some planned, you've seen them already in the fresco, shared questions. But after the first 2 weeks, it'll become more informal and personal as your group feels safer and more comfortable to share, even over the meal time or the snack time, whatever you have in place. So this covenant will actually help us and clarify our goals, expectations, and commitments as a life group and as life group participants or members. In fact, oftentimes I find that the breakdown in relationships are things that get in the way of us being able to develop deeper relationships is one of two things: unexpressed expectations. We ask people to get into a relationship, we don't tell them what we expect of them. And the other one is unrealistic expectations. So in this life group covenant, we're going to ask people to trust us, because life groups are intended to thrive, and they're built on trust, they're built on participation, and so a clear covenant is an important starting point toward a successful group experience. So that's one of the reasons we do that. We're going to outline clearly what's expected of every life group member, and what your life group leader is going to bring, and what we as a staff and we as a church will also bring to that. And so we'll spend some time talking about that. The 5 marks of a healthy group. For our group to be healthy, we need to, number one, and these are the things that we're going to commit to, is focus on spiritual growth as a top priority. In fact, oftentimes I tell our life group leaders that if something happens in your group, someone comes in burdened, heavy, concerned about something that they've experienced that week, that is the agenda. You put your life group study aside, because we are here on spiritual growth, meeting each other's needs, and that is a top priority. The second thing that we commit to is accept one another in love, just as Christ accepted us. We're going to have all different types of life group members come into your into your group. People vary. And so with that, you want to keep in mind that we want to love them with the love of Christ. Now, keep in mind also that there's a huge difference between acceptance and approval. We may not approve of their lifestyle, but we're going to be accepting of them as people. And then also the third thing that we're going to make a commitment to is to take care of one another in love, without crossing over the line into being a parent or taking inappropriate responsibility for solving one another's problems. So in other words, if there's a need that comes up that we can meet, let's meet that. That's what we're supposed to do as family, right? But if we can't meet it, And especially in the area of counsel, oftentimes we cross the line thinking that we are therapists, and we're not. The majority of us are not. We just need to be there to help and support and encourage the person through whatever they're going through. Walk with them as they go through that life experience. And then the fourth thing that's really important for us in your life group is treat one another with respect in both speech and action. In fact, if ever a conflict arises in your group, take them to Matthew 18. If your brother offends you, go to him, instruct him, teach him how to go to the other person and resolve issues without them having to quit life group or run away from the church or whatever it is. You see, learning how to deal with conflict is part of maturity. And then the fifth thing is keep our commitments to life group. That's including attending regularly. You encourage your life groups that part of the covenant is to do the homework. In other words, study the refresco. And keep confidence whenever requested. In other words, if something is shared with you that is confidential, keep it in confidence. Keep it confidential. It's very important that we learn how to do that. And another thing we also encourage our in the covenant is our life group leaders to encourage their groups to rotate homes. I know that oftentimes this isn't a possibility, and we want to make exceptions for that. We've been in homes where they're very small, and people didn't want to be excluded from hosting. They say, hey, I don't care. I still want to host group. But others say, no, I can't. We had an incident where a single lady, actually had been hosting group, and she came to me and she said, Pastor, I'm going to have to drop out of life group. I can't be involved anymore. And I asked her why. And she said, because I can't afford it. I said, what do you mean? She said, we have about 16 adults that are coming to the group. And it's really taking a budget as a single woman with a very low income job. I just can't afford it. And so again, think about all those things and ramifications about host homes. Don't put undue pressure to them to provide huge meals. Don't put undue pressure on them if their home is in a state where they can't host or something like that comes up. We have a lady in our group that doesn't host life group, and the reason is because of the dynamics of her adult children living with her. It just makes it impossible to do that. It's unsafe for not only the group members to go there, but it's also unsafe for her children to have anybody else in the home. So we guard that. But just talk that through. And if that's a situation, somebody can't host, well, then you offer your home and tell them, you bring the refreshments. You bring the refreshments. You host. I'm just opening up the venue for you. You can do it here at the house, and let them take charge of everything else. Also, in the Life Group Covenant, it spells out very clearly different responsibilities are what we're supposed to be doing. And it's talking again about hosting, it's talking about outreaches, it's talking about inreach, it's talking about caring, it's talking about service projects, that is reaching out in love to those around our community or perhaps those in our neighborhood. So all those things I want to be able to discuss with your group. I want to be able to answer any questions that may come up in the presentation of the covenants. So please, this coming week, today we are Thursday the 23rd, this coming week, instead of you having your regular refresco, in fact, I'm not even writing one because I don't want to confuse the issue. I want to be able to come to your group and present the Life Group Covenant. Now, if there is a problem with that, please communicate with me and let me know what it is, and that way we can address it and we can go from there. God bless you, and know that I am so thankful for you. Thank you for leading those people that God has placed under your care. Thank you for partnering with me in ministry. I love you, and God bless you, and have a good weekend.